Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, those between and unaffiliated to the Novice Elitists. We are here to resume the road to Endgame. Caleb, what do we have tonight in store for the audience, even though they clicked on it and they already see the title?
Yes, if you see the title, you'll definitely know that today we're going to cover Doctor Strange 1978, a little TV movie that was a backdoor pilot for a potential Doctor Strange series that never was to be. But more than that, we're also kicking off the new leg of our Marvel retrospective, I guess, Road to Endgame. This one's just the live-action stragglers, live-action oddballs. We don't have too many in here. Most of the other kind of random one-offs, like the Spider-Man TV movie, we're not going to throw that in there. We're going to wait till we get to the Spider-Man series for that. Do you think I should lay out what's in this series right away, or do you think I should save that for the end?
Let's save that for another time. Let's focus on the title today with the eponymous Doctor Strange.
Oh yes, Doctor Strange. And I guess before we jump into the movie itself, we can give a little bit of a backstory with a history, maybe scant history, with the Doctor Strange comic character. Maybe starting with you. Have you read much of this guy?
No, I think we all know how this is going to play out. If there's a bingo card that everybody has with them, the official Novice Elitist bingo card, they'll know that Isaac has not read a single issue of this character, and Caleb has an extensive history with this character instead. I know him obviously from the 2016 MCU movie, and that's about it. Oh, I guess, and also Infinity War, and that's about it. Caleb, your history with Doctor Strange.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have an extensive history of this guy. I have dipped in every now and again. I read a little bit of the early Stan Lee, and I think it was Steve Ditko, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, I read some of that early stuff. The first whatever that is, it Masterworks or Essential. I don't know which one, whichever brand of that was. I read quite a bit of that, but it was maybe only made it like halfway through that book, so it might have been like 7 issues or so. With how long those issues were, halfway through a book, you're only in a few issues. And a little bit of 70s stuff, and then of course he pops up in events pretty often. You'll see him in there, just in the mix. But as a solo character, unfortunately, yeah, I don't have too much experience, so I can't say for sure how close this particular TV movie would have been, especially to its contemporary stories. 1978. I really don't know what they were doing with Doctor Strange at that time. But this does feel a little bit like it's, off in its own little section.
Often, at least in the day where the editors, not editors, but some of the staff didn't know what to do with him, so they threw him in with the Hulk, the Silver Surfer, Submariner, and himself to make the Defenders. So have you ever read one of those Defenders books?
Oh, yes. Yeah, Defenders, I forgot about that. But yes, no, definitely. I've seen it as part of that group. I quite like those books, actually. My main call is, of course, yeah, Namor. No, yeah, there's some pretty cool Defender stuff out there. But I guess getting away from a little bit of the comic origins, especially the two of us, don't have too much to say on that regard, at least at the moment. I figure by the time we get to the MCU, we'll try to start throwing in some more books. So if anyone has any comic recommendations for Doctor Strange that you'd like us to cover, I'd love to hear them, and we'll put them on the roster before we get to that movie. How about this little quote-unquote movie, little TV pilot? Yeah, well, what are your initial thoughts, and did you have much expectation coming into this thing?
I saw that you provided a link for me, which I do appreciate. It was dark as all heck, but I was totally fine with that. Shall we go over the entries, our signs, our boards, our feeling it's, our not feeling it's, all that stuff, our expectations? This movie made me feel like we started off with a procedural hospital drama and moved into the trippy arts of magic and whatever else was on screen for the last 30 minutes. I'm going to give this one a feeling it. It's a little bit more of a light one. And my best thing is, yeah, some of that more psychedelic slash stuff towards the end. I definitely found myself liking. Worst thing? Oof, that's a good question. You know what it was? This was probably perhaps it was his style or it was his costume at the time, but I did not like the reused stock Marvel star image that we have at the end. That is literally like a Marvel trademark image where Captain Marvel uses it, and by that I mean Brie Larson's Captain Marvel uses that. I think it's like every Captain Marvel has that insignia, and so I was like, enough of this. Like that was obviously for its time, it's fine. I shouldn't be too harsh on that because that's from a 2025 perspective and not a 1978 perspective, of course. So I don't really have a good one there. Maybe when as we talk, I'll think of something. Caleb, over to you. What are your best thing, worst thing, your signs, and any boards that you may have but probably don't have?
Hmm. My signs. I'll say, yeah, no, the copies that we watched, both of us, we didn't have very good ones. I checked out two of them. Both of them were on Internet Archive. One was a VHS rip that was started off well, but then very quickly became very scratchy and poor. And then the next one I watched seemed like it was some sort of like maybe a Laserdisc print or something. It was
Interesting.
really blown out and really bright and weird. Um, and I wish I could see it in a better copy because I do feel like this thing has that fun kind of 70s look to it. I enjoy 70s TV, and I don't mind a little bit of cheese in there, and this thing definitely had some of that. My best thing would just be the overall vibe of this thing. It can be a little bit slow in there, but there's just a fun kind of, like I said, cheesy vibe. The music is a lot of fun, goes at full bore a lot of the times, and that 70s style is just enjoyable to sit back and watch. Worst thing is just, yeah, I feel like it gets kind of slow near the 45-minute mark and maybe stays slow for the next 10 minutes or so and then picks up for the last little bit. So just a little bit of a slow patch, but overall, I thought this was a lot of fun. And yeah, I don't know if I have much more for the best thing, worst thing.
Shall we do a quick summary over the events of the film, TV movie?
Sure. Would you like to take that on, or would you prefer if I did?
I'll take a hand at it. We begin with a title card summarizing that there is, I would say, an invisible war, but yeah, there's something more beyond the mortal realm that we see, which definitely kind of set some expectations in my mind. But I also knew this was a TV movie from '78, so I knew that we weren't going to get all of that. They kind of, I'm not saying blew their load there, but definitely it's just like, ooh, this is kind of making me want to go and read the comics instead, perhaps, just because you can do a lot more fantastic. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We begin in New York City. Well, sort of that actually. One Morgan Le Fay, famous, I think, Arthurian figure, if I recall,
Yep.
talking with, I want to say Dormammu, but I don't think it is. But either way, it's not Dormammu. To go and basically battle this one sorcerer. This they don't just say sorcerer supreme. This one, I forget, Lin Bed or something like that. Pardon me.
Linmar.
Linmar, thank you, sir. And to beat him so that this nut Dormammu can get into our earthly realm and cause havoc and chaos. And enter one Stephen Strange, who's a psychiatric doctor. I don't believe he was that in the comics. I think they may have changed that, but I'm not really too certain of that. But maybe I'm just too influenced by the Cumberbatch version in MCU.
Yep.
And
Yep.
anyways, he is working on a patient one night when certain events occur between a patient pushing an old man, the same old man, Linmar, excuse me, off of a bridge, and then she becomes kind of catatonic, and from there she leads him into a world of the unknown where he has ties to it, which even I was really curious with the parents. I'm like, interesting, how is that? Anyways, there's not a very great summary of this. I apologize, but like the film itself, a little bit of well, I think it follows something linear. Where would you like to begin with this TV movie?
Well, I'll begin with the first section that you mentioned there. The whole section in, I don't know if you want to say hell or just kind of this evil realm.
Nowhere in particular.
Oh boy, the first time I watched this back in 2018 was I shocked. And I was not thinking of that Doctor Strange movie with Dormammu. I was thinking of the big man himself, Satan, or as they usually go with in Marvel, Mephisto.
Yes. Okay.
Now he's never named. They don't directly say who this guy is, but he's definitely the seems to be the ruler of this hell realm. And I mean, this is the horror side of Marvel, so that to me at least screams, yeah, Mephisto or Satan. And I was very shocked the first time I watched it that I was like, oh my god, is the Satan in this thing just a giant penis? I mean, that's what he looks like, doesn't it? Just a giant phallus with eyes.
Okay. Listen. I think you've seen your fair share of Power Rangers or Super Sentai or other such creations over there in Tokusatsu land. But I did like how I didn't get that thought because I was too not I can't say familiar, but I was thinking too much vividly, even though I've only seen it once and rarely do I ever see it on TV, but maybe I'm just missing it. I'm still remembering vividly what Dormammu looks like in 2016. So I'm like, I thought he had like four eyes or something like that. So that's what I was thinking here. And Mephisto definitely does not have four eyes in the comics. I mean, for Pit's
No.
sakes, they could have had him, yeah, be in silhouette the whole time and be drinking from like a chalice of some sort on a throne. But no, they intentionally went for something more inhuman. I saw a mouth, but yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't really. For once, my head was not in my pants this time, and just kind of went with it. And again, perhaps my familiarity with the tokusatsu genre helps and just said, oh, this is impressive that we're actually doing this with adults in screen. Usually this is like teenagers or young adults that are always targeting, yeah, young teenagers or young adults in their plight to take over the world.
Yeah, and maybe it's because I almost never think of that Doctor Strange 2016. I think I've only seen it twice. I watched it once in the theater, and then once when me and Brianna were going through all those. But yeah, no, that movie made almost no impression on me. I can't remember what Dormammu looks like or most of anything in that movie. I just remember it took place in a hospital a lot of the time. It seems. Yeah, no. The one thing I appreciated about this is it definitely leans into that supernatural element. It's not just, oh, us wizards, we're tapping into a natural energy, we're trying to do this thing. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of that in there. And near the end of this thing, Stephen Strange seems like he's Luke Skywalker, who just, tapped into the Force.
All right. I mean, okay, sure, you're prior. And blows up a Death Star. It's the act, not so much like you. He just happens to tap into the Force and blow up a giant weapon. Okay, fair enough. That does make him look like a poorly written character.
But at least early on, there's tons of like satanic imagery going on in there, which I thought was cool. And Linmar himself seems like an old school wizard who's in there studying his books. He doesn't have some magic ring that he just twirls around or something. And don't get me wrong, they fixed that with the MCU. And so now when I think of Doctor Strange, I think of everything else but that movie because that movie doesn't really like it almost feels like it stands out like a sore thumb compared to what they did with Doctor Strange later. So maybe that's also I mean you have a different kind of framework when we think of that MCU Doctor Strange.
I have to be very careful here because not a that movie has soured for me more than Civil War, surprisingly.
Oh, me too. It was bad to begin with.
Yeah, I can't sit here all night and just make comparisons. That's definitely not fair.
Yeah.
But one thing that I avoided with my best thing was I wanted to say I actually get to see, even if it is just like laser beams, well, you want to call it that, or just they're shooting out magical energy beams at each other. It's like, well, at least it's flipping, not constructs. That's all I can say. Is that just sorry, not going there. No way they're gonna have like blood sacrifices or blood rituals, anything like that. Like there is some, yeah, there is some like imagery here that definitely is questionable, but I think the comics still go lean heavily more into that.
Yeah, it's not like Dracula's Sovereign of the Damned, which I do want to point out. I do think it's funny that we started out in the horror realm all the way through our first three.
I have no problem with that. Of course, you're probably enjoying this a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, again, you see. Here's the thing. And it does make me wonder what this series would have looked like. Not to
Mm.
go into that direction or anything like that, but it would have been interesting if it would have turned into villain of the week. I mean, probably. See, I was wondering. I kind of wish they would have, but obviously it's all budgets and who's watching and feedback. I kind of wish that there was more of a Columbo treatment with this, rather than like, okay, we got to do it. It's got to be on syndication each week. It's like, how many episodes were there in a season of Columbo? Like, not many, right? And they were like an hour and a half
Yeah.
long for Bit Six. So I was kind of wishing, like, I feel like this is the type of thing to go for, where these, well, maybe I'm shooting my, like, load over here. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like you could get like maybe an hour long. Well, maybe I'm just thinking of Star Trek instead. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe some of this was reflecting on the bust of that Spider-Man series, because that was a TV movie. They greenlit that, and then it very quickly just descended into, they didn't know what to do with it. It
Yeah, there
just
you go.
fizzled out very poorly. And so maybe with the start of this, they're like, oh, this is even more kind of obscure. The Spider-Man at least has his, cartoon stuff. Who's this Doctor Strange? Maybe this won't connect to an audience, so let's just not proceed.
Yes.
But overall, I think that this thing, as a piece of 70s television, I think it, carried my interest the whole way through. I think it has a nice vibe. And what do you think about Peter Hooton as Stephen Strange? He's maybe one of the spots that feels a little bit awkward for me, just a smidge.
There's a lot of weird ADR. I don't know if it is ADR or not, but like
Yes.
there's some, not all around, but like kind of in the hospital scenes. See,
Yeah.
you think that there's like a, okay, he's gonna wink at the camera, like, when it's the more hokey bits, but like, at least with the, maybe to give the credit to the version that we're watching, I actually don't want to see. Well, okay, I want to see this restored, yes, but I kind of like how darkly lit it is, because it kind of hides maybe the. I feel like if you were to enhance this to like 4K, I feel like you could see a lot more there. It's like, I kind of don't want to see that. Basically, what I mean is, like, I didn't feel like the sets were campy or anything like that. I really like
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
inside of Lindmark's estate. I think that was a very like well designed, like, where it's different from the outside and the inside. It's just like, what the hey is this place? It's like, it's giving me vibes of Yoda's hut in Dagobah. Not fully, of course, but something else eclectic. But I think, yeah, but just with, yeah, no, the title character himself. I did believe that he was selling me on the fact that he was in these realms. Listen, I know, as hokey as some of those scenes may look, the Willy Wonka tunnel sequence at home, it's a TV movie. I kind of have to give it the benefit of the doubt of like, okay, it's not going to look, what I want. Obviously, there's a set of expectations that you have to have with this, and not like lowering them to like, this is utter crap. No. But some of the, yeah, just, I think when he was kind of enraged at that head doctor, where it's just like, oh, you gave my patient a sedative or a tranquilizer. You can't do that. And then he kind of goes, that was a very, I don't know, really delivered scene. I don't know if you
Yeah.
felt that either.
Oh yeah, the whatever was going on with the ADR with him, I don't know if they had bad audio in the hospital setting or what. It seemed like he in particular had the ADR problem, so I don't know what was going on there, but it just made him feel a little bit distanced in the way that you get with like Italian movies, where you have that kind of strange distance. I got that a lot with him. He kind of played his ladies' man, kind of bit okay, and maybe like a little bit of like a playful, like childlike nature. Like he's this doctor, but he's irresponsible. He shows up for the meetings. He's hitting on the nurses, the patients, and everyone just kind of looks at him like, "Oh, that scamp over there, Stephen Strange. When is he going to get right?" And he just will grin and kind of be like, "Oh, I never will," kind of thing. I thought he played those bits okay, but
So here's the issue that I find with adaptations, not the comics, because I can't say I've read them, but here's the adaptation that I find. I often find myself looking at patterns that are repeated. I don't know if this is the same in the comics, so forgive me, obviously. I'm not speaking out of ignorance, and hey, ignorance is a good thing in this case for not knowing what's beyond the mortal realm. Is that honestly the actor playing Stephen Strange, Dr. Stephen Strange, excuse me, could perhaps also play, and this would not work at all in the seven, unless it's, the greatest American hero or whatever, or the $6 million man, Iron Man. I could definitely
mm-hmm.
see him playing Tony Stank, because he
Stink.
he kind of has that look to him as well, and he's got that ladies' man charisma. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
again, I don't know if that's comic book accurate Tony Stank, but I find the two of them similar almost in a way sometimes, and I don't know if that's an adaptational thing or because at least the very brief research that I have done, not Wikipedia, he always seemed very. I'm not gonna. Okay, mysterious is like a stupid way of putting it, obviously, but he always seemed to himself. He always was, yeah, kind of. I want to say Zen, but there was that stoicism there, and like he perhaps was this at one point, but I guess this is the origin after all. So eventually, after a season of this on television, we'd probably see him get to, even if it's still accelerated too much, and it's like okay, that's maybe too much time unless you like made it years. We will see him get to that like okay, he's in control of his emotions. He's got to a point. He's not really much of a lead. He's charismatic man anymore. But that's also probably the '70s part of it as well,
Yeah.
where it's just like okay, you kind of have where there is little bit of like free love going on for there. But yeah, there's definitely parts where I thought the actor exuded some Tony Stank energy.
Why the Tony Stank? Where's that
Sorry,
name?
it's for Stan. I'm sorry, it's for Smiling Stanley. My apologies.
Did he misprint the name a few times or something like he did with Peter Parker?
That's the no. That's funny enough. That's from Civil War. It's at the end there where Tony and Rhodey are just kind of going over the events of the film, and then out of places people put it. There's this Amazon driver or just like delivery driver saying, "I got a package for Tony Stank," and it's Stan.
Oh, I don't remember that cameo. That's funny.
No, that's fair. No, I remember that one very well.
But yeah, I will say, yeah, I think this guy's okay for Stephen Strange, but yeah, again, maybe it's just the weird performance stuff with the ADR. ADR clearly is a difficult thing for people to do, but it did make his performance just a little bit weird. And yeah, he was definitely not a highlight, I would say, of this thing. Maybe it could have been sold better with a different actor, but I think he was okay enough. And one of the things that has never really attracted me too much to the Doctor Strange character, this is coming from someone who's a big fan of Hellblazer. I've read a lot of those books. I'm always very drawn to the John Constantine or John Constantine character. There's something very compelling about him. Doctor Strange always felt just a little bit too serious and a little bit bland in that way. Maybe it's because he has to be like this. Oh, I'm the person who's kind of the pinnacle of this world. People all come to me for help. Whereas, John is just, he's a street level, yeah, basically just a criminal peddler, an amoral peddler.
He's an everyman versus Strange, who's supposed to be
Uh,
the pinnacle of humanity when it comes to the mystical arts.
yeah, I wouldn't call that guy an everyman. Certainly not the moral standing of an everyman, but
Well, yeah, I was trying to go for middle class, but I guess perhaps lower class instead of
yeah.
that.
And so maybe there's just a little bit of a disconnect with the character for me. But maybe I also just haven't read enough to really, find the stories that really make him shine. But in this one, I did appreciate him giving a little bit of the classic hero's journey of denying the call. That it's like okay, that fits with what we've seen him in this movie so far. And I'd be curious to go back and read maybe the first issue or so of Doctor Strange and see if that's a part of his origin that he was denying it.
I think it's almost an in medias res where they start him off as master of mystic arts already, and then I think he just gives his backstory briefly, and that's it.
Okay.
I think.
What's funny is I'm pretty sure I did read the first issue, but I just don't remember it. um, but there was some fun little bits with him. Like I appreciated that when we kind of see him relate to people as instead of just being a ladies' man, but also just being maybe a good doctor or a decent person. Like that lady who came in, who I was actually thinking would be myself in maybe like 30, 40 years.
Oh boy.
That old lady, the alcoholic who's coming in. She's like, oh, the ulcer's acting up. And he's like, are you staying off the booze? If you get to drinking, it's just going to make that ulcer act up. And she'd be like, well, I just need a little drink. I mean, come on. Yeah, I can't go completely straight. I was like, oh, grandma. Yeah, me and you both. There you go, sister. But he was kind to her, just let her stay there for a little while. And it seems like whatever hospital they're at, they're strapped for cash because they're always getting pissed at him for keeping these patients around.
Yes, until the end.
Yeah, there you go. But I guess that brings us over a little bit to our other kind of, I don't know if you'd say if she was going to be a season regular or just maybe for this TV movie, but this Clea character. In the background, as you said, Morgan Le Fay is she's trying to get to this Linmar. She's trying to take this guy out, and she uses Clea as a little bit of a puppet to try to push him over this bridge and try to kill him. And then from then on, Clea is like infected with Morgan. She's always haunting her and trying to get back in her. And yeah, Stephen Strange. At first, I couldn't tell if it was just he's like, oh, that's a hot lady in my hospital. I better, take her under my wing and try to get in bed with her. Or if he could sense something and wanted to protect her because he could sense there was a danger there. I wasn't too sure from the performance that Peter Hooton was giving.
Well, there was the explanation that Limar gives about the psychic connection, the psychic bond, where they both experience like a similar dream, or like
Oh
Steven
yeah,
is connected to her visions, so that's kind of why. So it just happens to be patient, fate, and or the plot, and yeah, he has the hots for her. Oh, and let's just 33. I'm glad they said his age was 33. She is at least probably past 20 years old, so that's gross. But once again, free love in the 70s.
and boy, she was definitely a very pretty lady. I'll say she was definitely catching my eye.
Not denying that, but I'm still saying that. Oh boy, and talk about an open relationship with that nurse that he's also having with.
I know she was just like, yeah, we can hang out on the weekend. When you're done sleeping with all these other ladies, I'll be waiting in your bedroom.
Good
Kind of thing. I was like, oh yeah,
grief!
it's a different era,
It's
or maybe a similar era to now.
that's a good point. I ain't trying to shame people here, but I'm just like I don't know. Maybe I just got morals and principles. I'm like
Well, I don't know if that's morals and principles. That's different morals and principles, maybe, but
I suppose there you go.
I don't know if I'd say one is more superior than the other.
Yeah, I don't know if Cleo would be a series. I assume so. I assume we would find out more about her. Perhaps she'd probably interview people. I mean, she said she was doing psychology. Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting subject. I'm like, yeah, psychiatric work versus psychology. Yeah, very very different fields. Surprisingly, even though they have psych in them in the term or in the title.
Yeah, and I thought the actress, I think it was Anne Marie Martin. I think I wrote it down, but I can't find it in my notes here. I thought that she stood out better to me than the lead did, Peter, whatever his name was, Hooten. I thought that she felt like a better actress. Now, when I looked her up, I was surprised that I hadn't really seen her in too much more. She felt like someone that would have popped up in a lot of maybe 80s horror movies or some late 70s horror movies. She had that look and definitely a little bit more of a polish of an actress. So I thought that was too bad.
Can't really say much for her other than being a damsel in distress, but not just kind of held by the plot itself. So she didn't really have much to do in that way.
Yeah. They give her some good horror moments though, especially some of the scenes with Morgan or her dream. There was some good horror stuff there.
I definitely will say, like, I think she did some good acting when she was, under the influence, or at least kind of just losing her mind. I say losing her mind, but kind of just in this catatonic state in the beginning. I thought she did some
Hmm.
okay acting there. I'll say this now. I definitely kind of want to see what the Italians would have done with this if they made like a giallo or just like a horror film of theirs. Oh boy, I would have gotten all the stuff that I was saying. Like you get legit just all the colors and the blood sacrifices. I'd literally get what I was saying in the beginning. Who's the next character you want to talk about if we're done with Clea?
Well, if I was already saying how attractive I thought Anne Marie Martin was in this, which she definitely was, oh man, was I stunned by the beauty of Miss Jessica Walter. Being more familiar with her in her later career and Arrested Development in particular, and then of course, just as a voice actor in Dinosaurs, she played Fran Sinclair, the mom on that show. I love that show. I'm always a big fan of Dinosaurs, and she was a lot of fun in it. But well, man, was she just fine as hell in this thing, and her outfits that she was wearing. Oh my god, it was capturing me in more ways than one. Some of those scenes, not to be too crass, but my goodness.
I'm of course familiar as well with Walter. I was going to say Walters, but it's just singular. From her performance, of course, as Mallory Archer in Archer, the eponymous series, of
Oh
course. So I'm glad to where it's almost a spitting resemblance. But yeah, my goodness, yeah, she is like just to see her at a much younger age. Yeah, very very striking eyes. They really, I think, lingered on those like kind of blackened eyes that she has. But no, she's
Hmm.
there's life to her later on, of course, and in her later works. Like, wow, they definitely went into. I liked how they kind of kept her wardrobe in the darks and really said like, oh, this person may have been in the Salem witch trials at one point. Even though it was like 500 years prior. Still though, yeah, like good, very good use of her, and I am surprised that they kept her alive towards the end. I was like, wow, we're actually gonna see where this goes, where she kind of starts a cult. Which I wonder if that would have been that would have been an interesting idea. I don't know, they probably were doing this obviously in the comics at the point as well in the Bronze Age, but I wonder if they were going to start commenting on perhaps some of Manson stuff or the sensationalism and cults that were happening in America in the 70s or not. Again, that was probably in the comics as well, but I'm just like towards
Yeah.
the end, she kind of has this like she's either powerless or we see her with her kind of restored persona, I guess, or restored youth. There we go. I was wondering if she was like feeding off of those kids because she's like the reporter's like, oh yeah, she's got a lot of young people with her in this movement. I obviously assume cult, and I wonder if she's like siphoning off
Yeah.
their youthful energy to remain youthful in appearance.
That's what I was thinking. And I like that Clea was still called to her, and Steven had to be like, "Hey, like, stop looking at that TV. Stop looking at her." So you could see her drawn to her. I thought that was cool.
I wonder if we would have. I wonder, yeah, if it would have like we would have seen Morgan's story go throughout the rest of the series or season, excuse me, and would have been a force where Clea kind of willingly goes back and kind of sees the horror eventually, or something happens, and Steven has to confront her, but this time he is practiced at that point. But sorry, I'm only talking about what ifs.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
I don't. I'm just trying to think, like whether how well written Morgan was, because I think I believe Jessica put in a lot of good performance here with this, but yeah, I did like that part where she felt conflicted of like I still this is definitely written by men, but so I don't know if this is sexist or not,
Hmm.
but I'm still a woman, and so I do want to feel the scent of a man instead of that the other way around. But still feel the kind of have the pleasures of the flesh to myself. So it's like she does kind of fall over Steven just for whether it's that magical charm that he has or well, the potency, excuse me, or it's just he's a stud of a guy or just that 70s charisma. Yeah, she just something about him is like, oh yeah, I kind of want this for myself. So I kind of like that. It kind of made her probably more than what could have been.
No, yeah, I agree. I think overall she had a lot of presence, and yeah, I like that turn partway through. I guess her whole motivation is kind of the pleasure in the flesh way too. It's like, oh, I don't want to look old. I want to keep my beauty. I want to be among the humans. And yeah, I just want to bang someone, really. It's like, oh, it's been a long time. I'm old. I think she says that she used to go by, she's so old. She used to go by Lilith and all these different names of kind of
Oh yes, oh yes,
mythological badass ladies. And Morgan Le Fay was kind of her last one. Maybe that was the last time she was on Earth, was that era.
yes.
So yeah, she's definitely ready for some action in that regard.
I was quite surprised at the end when she gets what she wants, obviously, where she almost gets to be with Steven. And I thought she almost stripped. I was like, oh my goodness, we're doing that. We're like just having full, but like full nudity, but not full. But we're gonna have some nudity there, but nope, we did not. I was like, still, this is a TV movie after all. We can't just have full on nudity. This isn't one of them exploitative pictures.
Yeah, too bad. Too bad. But I do think that they did a great job too. Yeah, really capturing just her look. Like the first maybe half an hour of this thing is mainly just her creeping around. And every time we'd see her, she'd just be like staring with that look, and that great music would be playing.
Oh my goodness.
That's another highlight. Is yeah, her kind of horror score, her theme.
If it was not for that score, I think I would have also kind of just been like, this is what it is. But that score, that's what happens when you get a memorable and familiar and kicking score as well. Doctor Strange 2016. Sorry. I gotta.
Oh God, yeah. No, that was I remember that was when I really turned on Michael Giacchino. There've been a few years of him disappointing me, And I walked to that theater being like, man, Giacchino's just lost the plot.
No, 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 no,
He's
no.
lost all
He's
inspiration.
no, no. I'm still with him for now. But
You
those
turned it
those ones,
around.
yeah, I'm definitely like, no, 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 not great. I feel like he was contractually ugly. But anyways, sorry, continue.
Oh, and I want to mention Morgan Le Fay itself, the character, and her connections to Marvel. It's kind of interesting because she was actually introduced into Marvel the same year that this TV movie aired, 1978.
Get out of town, eh?
I think it said that she didn't interact with Doctor Strange for several years later. I think it was until like 82. And I'm assuming when they produced this, they didn't know about her being in Marvel. So it seems kind of interesting because I think that she debuted in May, and this movie aired on September. So it was only a few months later. Maybe they shot this thing in that like maybe like 3-4 month span. But I don't think they knew that she would have been a Marvel character when they wrote this. This also aired on CBS, by the way.
That's a good point. I was wondering which station it was aired on. I know I saw at the end of the credits, creative consultant, or at least consultant on this was Stanley. I
Of course,
wonder if
yeah.
they should have. I wonder if they should have also gotten some of the editors perhaps in there as well. I'm not really too sure. I was wondering if this was written by any of the writers at the time, or just any Marvel writers. But no, it was by this one director who I'm not familiar with. So written and directed. So I'm like, okay, well, at least he has his like put. I assume he probably added some, I don't know, ghostwriters, but other people kind of help with it. But either way, I was like, okay, I guess it's his own piece, which is nice. But yeah, I know she's also a Morgan Le Fay. I think is just a what is it, a public domain character instead? Because I
Oh
believe
yeah,
she's also over in DC as well. I mean, Thor's over in DC as well. So, but people obviously more think of the Marvel version than the DC one.
yeah. I think in DC she goes by Morgane Le Fay, which is kind of like
Oh, there you go.
there's the two versions, Morgan, Morgane. They're both the same character, just a little bit of a variant in the name. In Doctor Who, when she showed up, they were calling her Morgane as well.
Oh, okay,
So,
interesting. Oh, was she? I wonder if she was. Sorry, the Marvel character. I wonder if she was not this TV special or TV movie. I wonder if she was involved in the Excalibur side of Marvel with Captain Britain. I wonder.
oh, that is interesting.
Not sure. Anyway, sorry, less than that.
Yeah, and I do believe that we covered her previously in this in our DC retrospective. I think she showed up in one of those Justice League episodes.
She's the witch. That's right. Holy shoot. That's with I was gonna say Eldritch. What's his name? The Goblin guy, not Goblin, but
I can't remember.
yeah,
Yeah.
him. I remember that. Yeah, no, she was there, and she had that son of hers who was a spoiled brat. Yeah, that's right. What a hateful villain. I don't like that woman,
Yeah.
but I mean that in a good way. Like what a good love to hate person. But yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so she definitely made an impression here. I think that she's one of the standout elements of this. And I liked the fact that she took that independent streak at the end, and that even that she wasn't like she was doing this service for this giant phallic Satan, but yeah, it was still her own character. It wasn't just like a henchman of him. It was just like she had this opportunity to take some power back and do something on her own. And then, yeah, that guy was the one giving her that opportunity. So that's interesting too. And it seems like it would set up that maybe in the series, maybe each week he would have a new villain or something like that he'd be sending out. Or maybe not each week, maybe there'd be, little couple episode streak of a different villain. So I think that there's maybe a decent plot generator in there, formula with that guy.
One week is real world cult or psychiatric
Mm-hmm.
disease or disorder of the week. But 3 episodes later, it would be back to the hellish Tokusatsu realm, and yeah, we'd have Tokusatsu monster of the week.
Yeah, and what do we think about Wong and Linmar? Because we see them quite a bit. They're definitely, I think pretty early on setting up that Linmar, he's going to be sort of the Obi-Wan. He's going to lead the path. He's going to, make room for a new person to fill his role. And I think that stuff's decent. It's nothing too standout, nothing too special. And him and Wong, they work well enough, but nothing too stand out there either. But I guess I just kind of like the mythology around it. A little bit of that classic hero's journey again.
It is funny though when you say Obi-Wan, just because there's a moment where there are some Jedi mind tricks going on, and
Yes.
it would be impossible for people not to be like, okay, well, they just ripped off the Jedi mind trick from, like a year prior. Because, I mean, who hadn't seen Star Wars by this point in America? Probably some people, I get
Uh-huh.
that. But you know what I mean? It was a cultural zeitgeist at the time. Suddenly because there was a point where I'm like, are they going to, because I knew that he was obviously going to mind trick people into, letting him pass into the hospital. And I'm like, I see the hand, I'm like, how do you not? Like, it's sorry, just unfortunate timing, of course. But yeah, no, does fulfill. I kind of expected that it's kind of similar to that Zorro movie, not Mask, the Mark of Zorro, whatever. The one with Antonio Banderas and what's his name? Anthony Hopkins. There we go, Anthony Hopkins. I was just kind of where it was a passing of the torch, standard origin story stuff. Kind of
Yeah.
made me think like, oh man, why is Wong not the one who becomes the Sorcerer Supreme? He's been the one that's been training his whole life, and suddenly he's not gonna. But again, you know what? That honestly would like each week, and they didn't kill off Linmar, so it was like he was there to say.
That's
I
true.
I
You're
I,
right.
I eventually wonder. I assumed that he probably would pass. He would later like die, either of natural causes or of like Yoda style, or he might have been killed. I prefer the Yoda style version, where he would have still been a teacher to both. And there might have been an episode where like Wong was, I don't say jealous. Like, it probably would have been a forced plot, but poorly written plot where like Wong's jealous of Steven getting all the attention suddenly. I'm not sure, of course. I don't want to go there, obviously, but it did kind of make me feel bad. Like, oh yeah, Wong has been a dutiful student to this guy, and he's not rewarded with it in the end. So I kind of, man, I feel bad for him towards the end. But I mean, Steven's not being a dickhead. It's just like, oh well.
Yeah.
Suddenly, like he goes from zero to hero, or at least he gets all the power, and it's like, man, like it kind of does. Maybe that just is a small point of like, hey, some people are born with it and some people aren't, and those people who have to work for it, like, oh, it's harder for them, and hopefully when they get to that point, it's worth it.
Yeah, I will say though, there's something that struck me just a little bit odd because at least in the original comics, I remember the ancient one. He was maybe Tibetan or maybe Chinese, I don't know, but he was definitely Asian. And so the fact that he had this Asian manservant, it seems like a piece of his culture brought over.
Yes.
The fact that Linmar's a white guy and the only Asian guy in here is the manservant, it creates just a slightly different dynamic there. And I maybe would have preferred, maybe they just wanted an old kind of elderly statesman white man, but I would have preferred an Asian Linmar just to show a more dominant, kind of powerful Asian character instead of such a diminutive one.
I mean, you don't want to go into stereotype too much. Just like say like, oh yeah, ancient magic from the East, and have it be a caricature. I don't think they were trying to. Wong was not that. I mean, it's like what's his name from Big Trouble in Little China. Of course, I want to like study under
Oh
his.
man.
That would be freaking awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're absolutely right, especially where I think Steven, when they're all inside of, I forget what that's called. I forget it has a specific name, that the place they reside in.
Sanctum Sanctorum, I think.
That's what it is. They don't call it that here. Obviously, I wonder if they would call that
Yeah.
in the series later on. But yeah, the Sanctum Sanctorum. Thank you. Where Stephen protests, like, why do you call it Master or something like that? Like, and they give Wong like, oh yeah, no, I'm here on my own. I have reasons for being here. That would probably be explained in the series. So I can't, fully say, like, okay, well, it gets a negative here, but at the same time, yeah, maybe some explanation would have been there. And yes, I did kind of have that as well, where I'm like, yeah, what, old white man has a servant who's Asian. Like, okay, that doesn't look right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that it looks wrong. It feels like it changes the dynamic not having the old master being also Asian. Just
Yeah, I
it
agree.
makes it a little bit different. Did they who'd they have playing the ancient one in the MCU?
Oh, do you not remember?
No.
Oh, Tilda Swinton.
Oh, okay. Yes. Now I remember that controversy around that. Wow. I forgot about that.
This is, yeah, I'm glad I say glad. That's funny you blocked all that out. Yeah, you just like Thanos snapped that out of existence of like, not remembering that.
Yeah, no, that oh man, that movie just
Now, to be fair, they did not to be fair, but there was a line where they mentioned the Ancient One. So, in a way, they could have had this series been more had been produced. Maybe we would have got an Asian guy at some point. I sound racist for saying that. I'm sorry, but we would have
well, I
probably
don't know.
gotten hopefully somebody that wasn't white as the Ancient One.
See, that's why I started to wonder about the MCU because I was starting to think, like, from the images that I remember seeing from the Ancient One, I was like, yeah, maybe, yeah, because you were saying, like, maybe it'd be problematic having him as, like, the Asian magical character stand in. And I was like, yeah, I guess he was kind of Fu Manchu-ish. And I was like, did the MCU go that direction? I can't even remember, but
Well, no, but it's a white woman. It's this is bad.
yeah, maybe a more controversial direction. I don't know.
The problem being, I say problem, but there, it's not for me to say, but I know there's a whole movement out there of Orientalism, so
Yes,
I'm just gonna
definitely.
leave it there and say this series definitely. I say this series, but the books probably do have that. Well, a lot of air to that as well,
Oh,
so
yes.
that is in there as well. So just unfortunate where the white man must go to the east and uncover the secrets that are over there. Sure.
Yeah, and of course the people who are writing that stuff, I mean, they were all born in the 30s, 40s. They came from a different era. The Fu Manchu stuff was all over the place back then. Yeah, so they just they when they were writing in the 60s, yeah, they were just carrying over some of that stuff, and you can kind of forgive it for the time, but you could see why they would want to move away from that. But I don't know about Tilda Swinton.
Yes.
I don't know if that was the right way to go either. But I can't remember that movie too well.
Well, there's I don't know if there's any way to do that. You have to have like just a person with no face and no like discernible skin color, just in a silhouette
uh,
basically, and be like, yeah, they speak Legion or something like that. So it's like all, or they, it's the Scanner Darkly effect where their face always shifts. So it's like the Ancient One is so many faces.
Oh, but there's one thing I definitely want to mention. You mentioned it early on, and I kind of skipped over it. But from the scant bits of Doctor Strange that I have read, maybe 10 issues max of his solo stuff. One of the things that definitely I've noticed is they do like to lean into. It's like it leans into similar imagery to Cosmic Marvel, but it's like psychedelic Marvel. And the Doctor Strange vein is one of the only places that I've seen that show up very consistently in the Marvel books. And so I did really appreciate that they had that in here, that element poked in. And you were kind of, dancing like, we gotta accept it for the times. It's not perfect. And I was just sitting over here like, oh, you're crazy. This stuff was great. I was just grinning ear to ear. I was loving all that.
I had a smile on my face, but I definitely knew like I flipping wish this was like they had more of a budget to put into some of this stuff because I mean for crying out loud, I believe the whole like embodiments and personifications, incarnations of time, eternity, the universe, and all other stuff. Like all those beings were all like started I think in Doctor Strange. So I like I said, I think maybe the Italians probably would have gotten it right for just the imagery and the cosmic horror that you could probably see, or the psychedelic horror that you could probably get from this. I feel like they would go far out there with that, which would be cool. Not to throw these guys under the bus, it's just it's there,
Yeah,
and trust me, I like where all of a sudden just like the Black Knight shows up. I thought that was pretty cool.
I love that. And he did feel like he could have been at a Power Rangers, the voice performance he was given. But I think maybe the difference that we're having is like I don't know what Italian television looked like in the 70s, but for a 70s American TV production, TV movie, this feels like it's pushing there. It's trying to be something bigger. I mean, again, if you've seen which eventually you will see, the Spider-Man TV movie, the Hulk TV movies that they had. This one does feel like it's trying a little bit bigger than at least those other Marvel counterparts. And having that big surreal sequence for a little 70s TV movie, I thought that was pretty fun and pretty cool. And some great music to accompany it. I thought that all worked pretty well for something, this low budget and this low ambition, I would think.
Yeah, I wonder if they got the guy who did the Doctor Who opening from the '60s or the '70s. Because I'm like, it's kind of there. There's some psychedelic nature in that. And you're right. You're absolutely. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I obviously should. The guys on TV try their darndest. Like I gotta get like. It's not fair for me to like compare it to movies. Obviously, never should. we were CW heads for different eras, of course. You with Smallville, me with Arrow, and those guys were trying. Those effects guys were doing the best they can before um, both Zack Snyder and James Gunn. This time I got it right. Before they came into
Mm-hmm.
the field and did a lot of stuff with their special effects. But they again had movie budgets, so yeah, you're right. I for what it is, like, yeah, it's maybe I was more into the practical sets than the but you're absolutely right. The effects when he's like in the time tunnel or just traveling through the astral realm, I'm like, all right, I can see what this looks like in the comics, but flip it, you're right. They're actually trying to do this on American television. That's would probably just balk at this, and well, they did and never got the series to be greenlit. So, but hey, you're right. It's there, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's pretty funky.
And think about this: this was the same year that the Star Wars Holiday Special aired on TV. So I mean, this feels much grander, a much grander
It's
vision than
almost
that.
months prior to that, by the way, like a few months before that.
Yep,
I don't know.
exactly.
Are you saying that the effects on that one are not up to standards with this?
Oh my god, everything about that. The standards are nowhere near this. Yeah, that thing's way in the basement, the dumpster.
Hey, that's not in the ultra A-rated basement. I'll
That's
say
true.
that. But no, okay. I don't know what you're saying. Like the end when Princess Leia sings "Life Day." That's not a psychedelic at all.
Oh, it's surreal, but in a different way.
Quite for a much different reason.
Oh, but yeah. Again, can't undersell, especially during that psychedelic scene. I thought the music was just so fun, and I was even thinking watching this. I was like, man, if this was made just like 3 years later, if this was like 1981, 1982, I feel like this thing would be nowhere near as cool because it's that 70s music just elevates so many scenes in this. A lot of those creepy moments of just Morgan just driving around in a car looking at people, having that kind of that music going at full bore. It's not just quiet, it's pummeling in a way. It just brings up the mood so much. And that's just some of the fun flavor of the 70s that I just always appreciate.
Yeah, I agree. Just because there was like obviously Jessica was doing her acting, of course, but to enhance it more, which I like, and maybe some stage actors might say, oh, there's a way to even get more of a performance of that. But I think honestly, yeah, the music does help sell the character even further. That there is some really like dark mystical energies going on with her, and so you are right. Like, yeah, maybe it was a little bit obvious as you said, full bore, but yeah, there's because it's so bumping and kicking, like that's the reason why we like adhere to it, or that's why we're so attracted to it.
Yeah. And it was making me think of those Italian horror movies with that kind of score too, whatever that is. It's almost I don't know, kind of it has a European sound to the rock that it was making me think of those. What were you thinking about Doctor Strange's costume that we see? We see two of them near the end. I think I kind of like that first one that he had first, one that Morgan gave him, that red number.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the one that looks like it's out of the comics. Obviously, that's not how I think he got his costume in the comics, but I'm like, okay, just as a like, okay, like it almost got to me. I'm like, he gets the gold chains with like, give you like wealth, give you power. I'm like, oh, they gave him his costume. That's the most subtle way of doing it. I
Hmm.
definitely like that. Um, but like I said, the one at the end, maybe that's one of the earlier designs, or maybe that's what he was looking like in the 70s. I don't know, but I'm not a fan of that one. I prefer the robes.
Yeah, I agree. Oh man, and when he finds Linmar all strung up and looking like he's like a zombie with those eyes all hollowed out, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a spookier image than I was expecting in this.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it wasn't Italian giallo looking like horror, but you're right. It still looks like I was like, oh, is he dead? And yeah, it turns out he's not dead, and he's just very weak, but still alive.
Yeah, and I guess too when Satan was just he was pummeling into Morgan like, "Oh, you better beg for your death cuz the agony that I'm going to give you, the horrors that you're going to experience. Oh, you're going to be wishing you could die. So you just better beg for your death right now." I thought that too. I was like, "Ooh, this." Yeah, at first I was laughing, but now this guy's getting a bit creepy. So I was liking that as well.
Yeah, regardless of what the you know costume looked like, I took his performance seriously.
Yeah, that's fair. All along, I think the vocal performance was good. It was just the image was definitely making me just picture a giant penis in there, and it was making me laugh.
And they beat Star Wars to having like a Sith lightning off, basically, where they by the
Love
end just
that.
like zap each other. Again, it's okay. Now effects by fine, but like just they are just like hurling beams of energy. I'm fine with it. I'll take it.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, even though it was a little bit comical as well, I just thought it was fun. I do think this thing might have been a little bit better if it was maybe an hour special.
Absolutely, I 100%. I could give that as my other like worst thing, but not like worst thing overall. Is yeah, there's just in because I know they were probably trying to do. They probably wanted to start off with let's start with all the conventional stuff just to get Steven to the point of well, I have to turn to magic. I have to like go see this consultant basically, or go see this Linmar character who is going to open my eyes to something further than what is conventionally possible. And so obviously I assume they just want just to give people like, okay, this is a standard, not standard, but this might be your box standard, pardon me, procedure inside of hospital, but then we're gonna like take you into the occult
Hmm.
slightly. I just assumed that was all necessary just to get like viewership attention retention, excuse me.
Yeah, and I am curious to know what the numbers were for this thing because, I mean, again, I think it's definitely better than that Spider-Man pilot, and it didn't get picked up. So I wonder, yeah, maybe Spider-Man is just more ubiquitous, so it pulled in more eyes. But I think this was solid enough for a TV movie. I think it's a shame it didn't last, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. People could probably call this boring and they and goofy with like just the effects where people can laugh at Spider-Man. Ah ha ha! You have bad jokes and you're wearing your underwear on the outside.
Definitely some bad jokes in that '70s one. Oh my gosh. But oh, I forgot you. I wanted to mention you brought up Doctor Who with the surreal sequence, that kind of the moving spherical whatever that was, whatever effect that is.
Light tonal, astral realm, whatever you want to call it.
Oh my gosh, was I thinking of Doctor Who, especially the third Doctor's second opening, John Pertwee's. I think it was maybe his last season or maybe his second from last. Very very similar design, color scheme, everything was very similar, and I was like, hey, this is cool. I'm liking it. But unfortunately, I don't think I have too much more. I don't know if there was any other lingering bits. Oh, actually, there was one. I did appreciate that I didn't necessarily know why, but they kept playing Abbott and Costello Meet the Wolfman on the TV. And it just made me smile. I was like, hey, I haven't seen that movie in so many years. I'd love to go back to that. But I started to wonder, like, was there a thematic reason to put that in there? Or was it just, maybe they just got it cheap? I don't know. I guess this was actually Universal. CBS, I think, was picking this up as a Universal release. So maybe that's why, but I was just kind of confused by that.
Was there also they met Frankenstein? Because I thought I saw Frankenstein more than well, I thought it was what I saw. Okay, first I thought it was the Mummy, or then I thought it was the Wolfman. But then I saw him either Abbott or Costello back into what looked like Frankenstein.
Well, Frankenstein is in that one, but if the Mummy was in there, I don't believe that he was in that one. Abbott and Costello met a whole bunch of the monsters. They did several different movies. So, but
Yes.
from the scenes that I saw, I thought that was the Wolfman one. But yeah, I could be wrong. One of those ones. Either way, the Abbott and Costello monster crossover flicks. Yeah, because this isn't like it has a comedy edge or anything like that. Not like a thematic tie. But I guess maybe just the element of the monsters could be the connection.
Oh yeah, of course. Just to say like, okay, this is what the 30s looked like with monsters or with the occult or supernatural. Here's our version of the supernatural of the 70s.
There you go. Sexy chicks and beautiful red dresses and giant penis men. Yeah, that feels like the '70s.
Well, that and it's in color versus when it's a black and white.
There you go. Yeah.
Could you imagine what the like the dream sequence or the astral realm would look like if this was black and white?
It would definitely lose some of its pop, no doubt. It would lose some of that class.
I could still see it being like done well if you did it in black and white. Like I'm compelled by the first Doctor Who's opening, of course.
Yeah, I always thought it was a shame that effect in Doctor Who, the Halloran effect with the that kind of glowing objects moving on the screen. I was always curious to see that in color, I don't think I've ever seen anything that uses it in
Oh,
color.
that's a good point. Yeah, no, that's I have to look into that. I feel like it probably has existed in color, just not aware of that. And
Yeah.
yeah, for the listeners, can you direct us to that? That'd be nice. Gotta do some research on that.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it showed up in one of those Dalek movies, but it's been quite a while since I've seen those. But anyway, maybe we'll have to cover some of those Dalek movies on this channel since you've been doing Doctor Who and the other one these days. Whenever you get to those, but
Perhaps.
I guess one of the last things I wanted to make sure to mention, a scene that I really thought capped this thing off great. I really appreciated the juxtaposition with Doctor Strange. He's finally accept the call. He's finally embraced the magic a little bit again. Two force poweries in the specifically like the Disney force powers, where you just decide that you want to accept them, and
Oh, good pull. I actually appreciate that.
yeah, now you've got them. He doesn't have to learn any ancient arts. It's just kind of he gets it.
I can do a one-handed push-up without even ever having to practice.
I just have to say that I'm accepting that I can do it, and I can do it.
I can do a muscle up and or just a one-handed pull-up without ever having to practice.
Oh, but he goes and sees this musician or this magician who's
Musician. Sorry.
he's attracted an audience. He's put on his show, and all these people are enjoying it. And Steven, he just walks through the crowd. He walks up right by the stage, and as the guy's about to do a trick, he throws some real magic in there. And the guy pulls out a flower, and he looks shocked. And the audience are all impressed. They love it, and he plays it off like he did it. And as Steven walks away, he just smiles and looks amused. I was like, hey, that's the side of this guy that I like. That's the part of his performance that I feel like works. So I like that ending for him.
I agree as well, where there was a selflessness to it. This guy does care about people. Like that's what he was arguing with, like I
Mm-hmm.
guess the head doctor or just like whatever the head of the department or whatever. Would have been interesting if the series would have gone into. Sorry if I keep going into these what ifs, but
Oh
it
yeah,
would have
it's
been
fair.
interesting if this series would have gone into like the drug epidemic or anything like that, where he gets to see the visions of people inside. Oh, that would have been fucking groovy and trippy as well if you got to see the inside of people on acid or speed or something like that, and he feels for them. So despite him being a ladies' man or a Casanova or anything like that, this guy, at least from the text, tells us, or at least from the words he speaks, is that he is a people person. Despite maybe not being so much so, but yeah, the end, like there where he does a simple street prestidigitation and brings in his own magic in there. Yeah, it was kind of a some people might say, "Oh, it's too easy," but no, I appreciated that. Oh, let's just quickly talk about. Before we end,
Sure.
his parents. I don't know if this is a thing in the comics or not, but it was very interesting. They left it as a mystery. I wonder if that was also a thread that we are gonna learn later on in the series as well, because they mentioned that Stephen got a ring from his dad when he passed away in the will, and he also cannot magically remove it.
Oh yeah.
I feel as though because then Linmar says something about how they died to protect you, and that this like assassination or this like car accident was meant to be for him. So it's like that's an allusion to something. I feel like that was another like plot point that they left unanswered for the series to explore.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting touch, and yeah, definitely would be a mystery that I'm sure we would get answered. It was actually making me think of the those Amazing Spider-Man movies with the Peter Parker plot in those with the parents.
Oh yeah, no, the more of the weaker aspect of those films,
Yes.
unfortunately.
But since you mentioned the bit with the ring, I forgot I did want to mention another pretty cool, creepy moment, but kind of contrived how it gets there when Steven's trying to take off the ring. He opens up the door and sees a little cat outside, and he's like, "Oh, it's raining outside, cat. Let me bring you inside. Let me get you out of that cold." And then he just leaves. I was like, "You're not going to tell anyone that you just put a strange cat in their house?"
Well, but you see, he read the script, and the script told him not to tell anybody about that.
Yeah, I thought that was just weird. But it did lead to a cool, creepy moment when Wong walks into the room and you just see the eyes. They're low like a cat's eyes.
Very, very good shot. I was like, it didn't put the hairs in the back of my neck up, but I was like, nope, that's still a good shot.
Yeah, as they're rising up, I definitely had a little bit of a, like, ooh, that's a creepy image. Wasn't expecting that.
Oh, and I forgot about that. Where Linmar, sorry, I was just watching the scene right now. Feigned. He actually like tricked Morgan into thinking that she beat him, but it was all a ruse. Like Linmar himself was playing like he had a gambit. He was playing chess where he made
Oh,
it look like he was captured. He made himself be captured just so Steven would answer the call. That was, yeah, okay. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So just to try to maybe say, oh, our writing's a little more clever than you may think. Whereas Luke was not that way. Obi-Wan did not contrive these events. It was the Force itself.
yeah. Just as we're talking about that moment with Lin Mar, I did think it was funny that when Morgan, I keep wanting to say Morgane, when Morgan she wants to sleep with
Yeah, you can if you want.
Steven, she's like, "Oh, let's get all erotic. Let's get aroused. Oh, let me show you this conquest of mine. Look, there's your old master. I got him strung up like a corpse." It was making me think of like a cat who's like they bring you like a little present, like a dead mouse. They're just sitting there looking all pleased, like, "Look what I brought you." And then we're just like, "Oh no, that's yeah, we're definitely we got different values of what's a gift."
Raise the cat with the water bottle or with those the spray bottle.
Yeah, that's basically what Steven did. He's like, "Oh yeah, now it's time for the cold shower for you." No, I'm not. I'm not into this anymore. But yeah, I don't think I have any other moments that I really wanted to make sure to get in there. So I think I'm ready for final thoughts. If you are,
Potential. It had potential. I don't know, like Superman 78 or Batman post Burton films. It's like, let's continue on those movies and see what they would have been if they had proper sequels to them or whatever. Um, let's do this one, but it would be interesting to see if somebody ever watches this and says, let's go through what it could have been. I don't know if it would have been, great. It doesn't matter, but yeah, it definitely is it left me wanting more.
mm,
It left me wanting to watch the series. So had this pilot been greenlit, I would have probably kept watching.
yeah, I feel the same way, and that's one of the things I think about when it comes to pilots, filler, TV. Like, is this something that isn't just enjoyable as a piece of media? Is it something that would have hooked me in? And I do think that this had enough there to get me interested. I'm always just naturally more drawn to horror, and the fact that this had some good creepy moments and 70s TV. I love 70s Doctor Who for its kind of creepy factor. They definitely bring that in there, and this was making me think of that a little bit. As a Marvel property, I think Doctor Strange has that potential to be a cool kind of ongoing narrative in that way. Maybe keep him away from the big grand stories. I mean, he works okay in the MCU in that way, but I'd like to see like a what's that show? The Night Stalker. What's that program? Kolchak or
Kojak the Night Stalker.
yeah, I think doing a Doctor Strange type show like that would have been pretty cool to see.
Ooh, now you're getting me. Now I'm interested.
Yeah, and I guess I could still do that maybe one day. But as a potential example, as an attempt at that in the '70s, I think this was a pretty decent attempt, but would have done better. Yeah, if it was more like an hour-long special length rather than full TV movie length, an hour and 33 minutes. It just doesn't have enough. You mentioned the scenes with Doctor Strange showing up to the meetings, and the doctors will be like, "Oh, Steven, you're irresponsible. You got to stop hitting on the ladies. You got to focus on your job. You got to grow up." I think we had like three of those scenes, and maybe we could have done with just one. So,
Well, we needed three because it's the rule of three, and by the end, it was at least got the implication that now that there are seven beds empty, that means that I felt that was Steven's accomplishment, that he was late, but it was also because he was helping all these patients with his new powers, or at least his new magical abilities.
that's fair. Yeah, maybe two. Two would, because yeah, you do need that end scene. I did actually like that end one a lot more. And they're all looking over at him, almost like, "Hey, look at this guy. He's acting a bit better." So that was a nice little topper as well. Yeah, overall, I would say that especially if you have an interest in the history of Marvel, give this thing a look. If you're interested in '70s television, give this thing a look. But if you're just a general audience, you might not get too much out of this. So maybe not so much. But I certainly enjoyed it.
And for crying out loud, just please change that costume. That costume was
There you go.
really goofy. Like the one that he has that Morgan gives him, probably the reason why he won't, but for pit's sakes, that thing looks authentic, or at least I bought it.
Yeah, bring that one back. Toss out the other one. Absolutely. And I guess that's us kind of tossing this one out. We're finished off with the first part of our, yeah, kind of the stragglers, the live action oddballs section of the Marvel series. And I guess now that we're done with that, I'll quickly address the next couple that we have This is a five-part series, starting with the Doctor Strange pilot, as we've already done. And the next one is actually the first Marvel theatrical film. Do you know what that is?
Is it the first Captain America film?
Oh no, that one was also for television.
Oh, whoops.
This is 1986. It took that long to finally get a theatrical feature film,
Forgot about this.
and that is Howard the Duck. That is going to be our next one. Oh my gosh, it's Howard. I'm as pumped as could be.
I'll just say this now, Caleb. I think I'm 3 for 3 so far. This is a 3-0 right now,
Yep, yep.
and I'm pretty happy. At least for myself personally, I can't speak for you, but I'm so far 3 for 0 on this series.
Me too. Yep, been pretty fun. I'm enjoying, focusing on the horror side of Marvel. Yeah, maybe we'll see if Howard the Duck fits that bill as well. I don't know.
Maybe it's a kind of horror, but a different one to some people's definitions.
But after we're done with that film, we're going to jump ahead about 12 years to check out the David Hasselhoff led Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I didn't write down the date for Power Pack. I don't know if we're actually going to be able to track that one down. Last time I looked, it seemed like it was a little bit hard to find, but we're definitely going to try to watch that because I think that's an important one to get in there. I've never seen that. That's one of the few Marvel things that I haven't seen. And we're going to end this Oddballs series off with Man Thing from 2005. So all those ones, none of them have really had theatrical films focused on them. I guess Nick Fury's now had that Marvel TV series. What's it called? Secret Invasion, I think. I haven't seen that either. But otherwise, Power Pack and Man Thing, I don't know if we'll ever get feature film adaptations of them again. So might as well just toss them into this series and get past them.
Yeah, I know. We've been behind the scenes, sausage talk. We've been wanting to do Power Pack for a long time. So this one's a long time in the makings.
Yeah. And the times that I've looked previously, it did not seem to be anywhere. I'm hoping that's turned around. I'm hoping that it's out there somewhere at this point. Or if not, we might just have to make this a four-part series. But we'll see. I'm going to definitely try my best to track it down. And I guess with that being said, I guess that closes off the first part of this series. Isaac, I'm very glad that we're continuing this Marvel series. I've been having some fun so far and definitely looking forward to continuing.
Thank you for bringing this to my attention, and I enjoyed it immensely. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, those in between, and an affiliate for listening to us, the Novice Elitist, talk about Doctor Strange, 1978. Till next time, I know exactly how Doctor Strange shall get his magic in the next version, either in the comics or in the movies, whatever have you be. He'll get it from a ring out of a Cracker Jack box. Till next time, peace.
Nice.
Oh, and of course, if they wanted to avoid the Orientalism of Doctor Strange or the implications there, they of course should probably just make the ancient one Merlin, and then
Hmm.
everything's like, all right, just British magic, and that's it.
That would work. Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all. Hmm.
Yeah, no, just link it to Britain, and people can say, "Oh, it's British Empire; they're bad." Yeah, sure, but what? Nobody's gonna feign like, "Oh, culturally appropriating Merlin" or something like that.
Yeah. P.S. Maybe I'll cut this part, but I've been my Halloween playlist. I started it on the first, and I haven't had the time to fully watch a lot of these movies. I'm just like watching them in maybe 40-minute chunks, and I'll come back the next day. So I haven't really gotten too far. But I filled that list with Italian horror, and I was like, man, I want to show Isaac a lot of these movies. So maybe next year I'll
Hey,
try to do a little Italian horror series for us.
why not? I'm down for it. Reminisce on Suspiria or anything like that, or all the good stuff that you show me, or the Lucio Fulci Gates of Hell trilogy that we still got to finish at some point. Cough, cough, cough.
Yeah.